Hello, my name is Keith Haswell. I'm a professional astrologer with over 30,000 clients worldwide and over 40 years experience in the business. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this video. This video is communication between myself and my subscribers. And I just want to say thank you for subscribing to my videos and have faith in me to be able to guide you in life and to be able to do your horoscope for you. Obviously you've been impressed with what you've seen there with the videos that I've done and the horoscopes that I've done for you on the YouTube, and that has motivated you to subscribe to my videos. So I say thank you, and thank you for having that trust in me. You know, it's absolutely amazing that after studying astrology for 40 years and practicing astrology professionally for 40 years, for me to say to you that astrology only represents about 15% of what I want to convey to you and what I want to communicate with you, it's a little bit of a stretch of the imagination there. And I'm so excited about God and Goddess's plans for all of us. I'm just so excited. But when I initially started putting out videos, there were very few people who were actually viewing them because they couldn't relate to what I was talking about. And so I started doing horoscopes. And when I started doing the horoscope for 2013 and 2014 for each of the 12 signs, 12 different videos, it was a smash hit with over 10,000 viewings on most of those videos now. And then I got the idea of doing it, well, okay, if you like it, if you like me to present occult truth through astrology because it means more to you, then I'll try doing a horoscope for a 2-monthly period. And so I did one for May and June 2014. And that has been an absolute smash hit with all of you. And I'm so happy about that. And some of those videos have only been out for 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks, and they've already had 7,500 viewings. So it just shows that what you like is the astrology side of things. But I just want to communicate with you about the other 85% of the message that I'm trying to get across to you. That's very, very important. And I want you to be able to use your imagination now. I'm going to ask you to perhaps close your eyes if you're in a position to be able to do so. And just let me tell you a little bit of a story. Let me pique your imagination so that we can have a little bit of fun together and get some communication across here together. Now just imagine now that you are 25 years of age. And remember, you've got to use your imagination here. I'm stretching it for you. That you're 25 years of age and you'd never had an education. Circumstances were such that you were in a third world country, or you were in a war, or your parents were killed or whatever, and you just didn't have the opportunity to be able to get an education. So you never learned how to read and you never learned how to write. And here you are there, 25 years of age, and you're doing manual labour because you're not skilled to do anything else. And your higher self is trying to communicate to you. Now you've got to use your imagination here. If you don't believe that you've got a higher self, just use your imagination that you've got a higher self, which is an aspect of God and Goddess, a piece of the whole. And that piece of the whole is your higher self. And that higher self has all of the properties, all of the qualities, and all of the powers of God and Goddess inside of itself now. And it's trying to communicate to you because you're the one with the conscious mind. It doesn't have a conscious mind. It has all of this knowledge, and it has all of this consciousness, and it has all of this massive life in it, but it doesn't have conscious choice. You're the one with the conscious choice. So you are the one that's in the space-time rule set here with the conscious choice. So it's trying to communicate to you, and it's trying to tell you, look, if you get an education and you learn to read and you learn to write, then you're going to be able to get yourself a good job. You'll be able to drive a car like everybody else drives, and you'll be able to achieve great things as far as your career is concerned and so forth. All you got to do is go through a crash course of 6 months and learn how to read and write. And so you listen to your higher self. Now, you imagine this situation here where you're 25 years of age, you're uneducated, and you've got a bum job. And the circumstances are such that you haven't been able to find a good relationship because nobody wants to hang around with somebody who's uneducated and so forth. And so, yes, you listen to your higher self. Can you imagine that that's what your higher self is trying to convey to you? That you can get an education, and then in 6 months' time, you'll be able to get yourself a decent job, and you'll be able to get a nice relationship, and you'll be able to drive a car, and you'll be able to do all the other things that everybody else is doing. And so you imagine yourself in that sort of a situation. And so you listen to your higher self, you go and do that crash course on writing and reading, and you get yourself a good job, you get yourself a beautiful relationship, and you educate yourself more and more and more. Now, can you imagine that scenario? Okay? Now you're 45 years of age, let's say, in your imagination. You're 45 years of age, and you've had your education and everything like that, but you're in shock. You're in shock because the relationships that you've formed haven't worked out as you imagined them to do. You've had problems with your job, you've had difficulties here, you've got problems with your self-esteem, you've got problems with your self-image, you've got difficulties and tensions and conflicts in your life, and you've had a lot of anxiety and stress and all sorts of things that have happened in your life, and you're 45 years of age, and your higher self is trying to communicate with you. And your higher self is trying to say, hey, what you need is an education. What you need is a 6 months crash course to educate yourself about the nature of reality and your place in that reality. It's as important as learning how to read and write. Can you imagine that this sort of a scenario is there? That you are 45 years of age. Most of the people who come to my website are between 35 and 45. Prior to 35, they're still living in fantasy land, and they're thinking that everything's going to work out the way that they imagined it to be. By 45 years of age or 55 years of age, you're suffering from shock. Shock about the way that it has turned out, and the way that it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to turn out. And so here's your higher self again trying to communicate to you and say, listen, there's an educational process that you can go through. All you got to do is find your way to Keith's website and do his 3 intensives, and that will teach you about astrology, meditation, reincarnation, the nature of reality and your place in that reality, and how you can be more successful in that reality. Can't you imagine that sort of a situation? Well, this is what your higher self is trying to communicate to you. Your higher self loves you. Your higher self is all that is for you. And it wants you to become more of it so that it can become more of God, Goddess, all that is. This is the way that it all works. This is the way that God and Goddess have set it all up. That they've got lots of pieces of themselves that are spread out all over the universe, and you're one of those pieces. And through you, God and Goddess can experience all the wonder and the growth and the magic and the miracles that they've experienced in their growth and development. That's right. God and Goddess are still growing and becoming more of who they really are. There's an underlying principle of love. There's an underlying principle of love that is infinite. And that underlies everything. That is the origin of everything, an underlying principle of love that will forever remain unknowable and will forever remain nameless. And even to God and Goddess. Goddess was the first differentiation of this infinite principle of love, this underlying principle of infinite love. Goddess was the first differentiation of that, because it knew that in order for it to experience its magnificence, it had to be able to observe itself from a position of not magnificence. And when you're infinite, every part of yourself is infinite, and every part of yourself is magnificent. And so therefore it had to create a piece of itself that was not magnificent, so that from that position of being not magnificent it could look back on itself and experience its magnificence. This is what I'm trying to convey to you, is that there's just so much there to learn. But look, I'm probably going way over your head here with all of this sort of stuff. And I didn't want to really do that, but I'm just so enthusiastic. I want to get a message across. So look, let's get down to basics. Astrology is the most scientific presentation of hidden truth in the world today. That's why you're attracted towards it. And another reason that you're attracted towards it is because it's all about you. It's all about you and your life and the 12 houses of your horoscope and the 12 houses of your life and all of the different experiences that you're going through. And when I do those transits of Saturn through the houses and the transits of Jupiter through the houses, and I tell you that this is what's happening to you as an Aries, or this is what's happening to you as a Pisces, or this is what's happening to you as a Leo, or this is what's happening to you as a Capricorn, and it hits the nail on the head, I get so many emails from people who are saying it was like as if you were just reading the horoscope for me alone. And so, yes, astrology is the most scientific presentation of hidden truth in the world today. So I'm not trying to turn you off understanding more about astrology and wanting your own horoscope done and everything like that. But what I'm saying to you is that there's something deeper there. Look, what I suggest that you do is that you get your horoscope number 1 is free of charge. Okay, I've done that for all of you. And I've done that, and you've got the video on that particular sign, and you've watched that, and you've been impressed by that, obviously, so you've subscribed to my videos. But that's only a generality for your sun sign, or it's only a generality for your rising sign. There's so much more there in your individual horoscope that I can't tell you about when I'm doing a general thing for a particular sign. So therefore, I want to be able to do your horoscope number 2. Horoscope number 2 is you and you alone. There won't be another person born with the same horoscope as you for another 25,000 years. And you get that horoscope number 2 for a pittance. It's 20 pages, all about you. It tells you where all of your planets are. And the sun is your personality, the moon is your emotions, Mercury is your mind, Venus is your love nature, Mars is your energy levels, Jupiter is your higher mind, Saturn is your practicality and organizational ability, Uranus is your intuition, Neptune is your spirituality, and Pluto is your transformational part of yourself. So all of these planets have meaning. It's not just all to do with the sun sign. And then these planets have to be placed somewhere in one of the 12 signs. And they're all different for everybody. And they're all in relationship with each other. They form aspects with each other. And they're communicating with each other and having impact in your life. And then they have to sit somewhere in one of the 12 houses of the horoscope, because the signs go around the circle, and so do the houses go around the circle. So you put the planets in the signs, and they've got to sit somewhere in those houses. And you have a different set of circumstances in life if you have Mars in the 3rd house compared with somebody who has Mars in the 5th house. You've got a different set of circumstances if you've got Saturn in the 10th house compared with somebody who's got Saturn in the 2nd house. So this is what I'm saying to you, is that there's all of these planets are there in your individual horoscope, and for only a small pittance you get horoscope number 2, which is 20 pages all about you, to tell you more about yourself. And you know what that does? When you read through that and you find that, yes, I can see truth in that, it motivates you. It impels you to want to learn more, not only about astrology, but about the deeper side of things. Because if astrology is truth, if you can prove to your consciousness that astrology is truth, then it's worthy of saying that there's design in the universe. And that means that there has to be a designer. And so all of us are brainwashed by religion, and all of us are brainwashed by science and atheism and so forth, into believing that there's no design in the universe, but everything is there, and it's all a part of a big plan. And you can learn how to meditate, and you can learn how to process and program. Look, there's so much to the science of meditation that you wouldn't believe. Watch my video on meditation and you'll learn a little bit about it. But learning how to process, learning how to get rid of all of those negative beliefs and patterns of thinking and feeling that you've got there inside of yourself that are doing you harm. And learn how to transform those thought patterns, because it's those attitudes and beliefs and those thoughts and those feelings that are your raw materials. And they are the things that are creating all of the events and conditions of your life. When you first get into astrology, you must think to yourself, well, why is God doing this to me? I can see that all of these events are happening in my life according to what Keith is saying. Well, why is God doing that to me? Well, God isn't doing it to you. You create your own reality. That's the law. So that's what I'm trying to convey to you, is that there's just so much there to learn. So you can learn about the science of astrology through having your horoscope number 2 done. And when you see that that's truth, and you can relate to those things that I tell you in there that are all about you and you alone, then you want to go on and have your horoscope number 3 done, which is more personal and is done with my voice. And that way I can then tell you more about yourself, and I can synthesize it all. And I can tell you what's happened in the past from progressions, what's called progressions, the symbolic movements of planets. And I can tell you what's going to happen in the future, and what happens when I tell you about things that have happened in the past, when you had changes in your job, changes in your residence, changes in your situation, journeys overseas, changes in relationships, and deaths in the family, where you got even scars on your body. When I tell you things like that from the past, and it's true, that has a massive impact upon you. So this is what I'm trying to say to you, is that you need the motivation to go deeper into meditation and deeper into astrology and deeper into reincarnation. And the way you do that is by, first of all, having your horoscope number 1 done by me, and then horoscope number 2, and then horoscope number 3, and then to get stuck into delving into things like meditation and reincarnation and how it all works. And it all makes sense to you, because I explain it in simple terminology. So I think I've spoken for long enough here. I'm really very, very grateful that you've placed trust in me by subscribing to my videos. In the middle of June, I'll be putting out another 12 videos for July and August. And they'll probably be just as successful or more so than what the May and June ones are, because I'm getting new subscribers subscribing all the time. And so I'm just excited about the fact that there's so many people now who are turning to my teachings, but I had to tailor make it all to fit what you were ready for, and that was through astrology. But this video is designed to tell you that there's an education there for you to have. Go through a crash course with my 3 intensives and you'll perceive life from a different perspective. You'll then learn how to create a different reality for yourself, rather than hanging on your horoscope and saying, well, what's coming up next month or what's coming up next year? Oh, I'm going to meet someone nice next year. You can create that reality through the power of your changed attitudes and beliefs and thoughts and feelings. This is what I'm trying to say to you, is that you've got power. You've got the power of conscious choice. And that's a power that your higher self doesn't even have. So it has to do it all through you. And you'll go on into other dimensions and other levels of consciousness beyond the human level when you've had enough of this level. And it'll still be working through you. It's the peace of God that you are becoming. And it'll always be becoming more of God and Goddess. It's very, very exciting when you start looking at things from this perspective and realise that not only do you have eternal life at the human level, but you've got eternal life that goes on forever into higher dimensions of consciousness that we can't comprehend. It's just endless, and God and Goddess are waiting there to be your partner through the whole journey. They have it set up in such a way that they can be totally 100% conscious in your reality as if you're the only one in the universe. And they can be conscious with everybody else all at the same time because they've got that state of consciousness there. So anyway, I've talked enough here, and I'm happy to have been able to have this chance to talk with you. And I look forward to working further with you as you progress through my teachings and through my videos. Thank you.